Hello everyone, welcome back to another late war battle report. Finally getting to use the new D-Day British book. I'll be using these as the attacker in the Bridgehead mission. So this is what I'm going to be using today. So I have a Cromwell armoured squadron, so that's the Desert Rats Cromwells. So I have a HQ of 2 Cromwells and 3 troops of 3 Cromwells with a Firefly. And that's that formation, and that's my only formation today. In support, I have a Desert Rat Universal Carrier group. I have 1 Piat upgraded with these. I have 4 M10 17 pounders. I have a paratrooper platoon with an extra Piat, and that's a full platoon, so that's 7 bases. And I have 4 sextons, and that is 109 points. My opponent today is going to be Dave, and he will be using D-Day Germans. So there's a slight change of plan for today's game. Dave's not feeling very well, and obviously with everything that's going on, I think we decided to give it a miss. Well, he has anyway. So luckily, Super Sub, my wife, has jumped in for a game. She's going to be taking command of the British, and I'm going to be using the German. Same mission, but I'll be defending, so I'm not going to be trying out my British today, but I'll be playing against them and seeing what they're like. So, what have I brought? I have 2 formations. First formation is a Fallschrimjager Stug Assault Company, consisting of 2 Stugs in the HQ and 2 platoons of 4 Stugs. So I know they're going to struggle against the AT the British have today. And second formation is a Beach Defender formation, but this is the 7th Army Assault Battalion upgrade. So all the HQ and infantry rifle platoons are plus 2 points extra, and their stats are slightly better, so much better in assault. So which is what I want for defensive. So I have my HQ of 2 MP40s, and then 2 full platoons with a Panzer Schreck, a Panzerfaust, and a HMG each. Also in this formation are 4 8cm mortars and 3 Pak 40s, and to round off the list I have 4 Flak 88s. These are just regular Flak 88s. So something to punch a hole through this British armour. So we'll have a look at where I'm putting my minefields and where Jen is going to be putting her objectives, and then we'll start deployment. So this is the table before deployment. This is where the British will be attacking from in this corridor. I have placed my minefields here. I've got 3 over here, 1 on the road, and then 2 blocking this area here, but my wife might try and break through by there anyway. And I have 1 more right by here in the central road. This is where the objectives have been placed for the British, so both quite close in the town, so as long as I can hold on to these I'll be okay. So what am I going to put in ambush? I think I'm going to go with the 7.5cm guns, because I don't want the Flak 88s being stuck, not being able to be deployed again, because they are a large gun. So we'll deploy, and then we'll see what the deployment looks like. So this is my deployment. I put my Flak 88 right at the back. Should be able to cover the right and left and front approaches to the objectives when armour involved. I have to be careful because Jen put a ranged in marker by here. The 2 Stugs I can start are just ducking behind cover here so I don't lose them straight away. Right next to them are the 8cm mortars. These 2 buildings here have 1 platoon. This terrace has another platoon, and the HQ are in the cafe in the middle so they can spot for artillery. And now Jen will deploy. This is British deployment on the left flank using Spearhead. 2 platoons of Cromwells over here with the universal carriers. Over by here we have the sextons, and then on the right flank we have the infantry, the HQ, another platoon of Cromwells, and the M10s. So British have first turn. Good luck, Jen. Obviously she's thrilled to play this game. So here we go, turn 1. So this is summary of British movement. On British left flank, the universal carriers have dashed up to get into cover. This troop here is moved into position to get some early shots onto the Stug unit, and these guys are behind cover of the hill. Sextons have not moved. The paratroopers are moving across the river, the forward section, and these guys are just pushing up, but there may be some casualties to the Flak 88s, but we shall see. So, British shooting. British shooting has seen the Germans get pinned down in this building and the cafe because the Sextons have ranged in here, and they have killed one of the beach defender teams in the building. Luckily it wasn't any of the special weapons. This troop over here failed to hit the Stugs. So in my startup step I have 2 pinned down units in the building. So I have the HQ, which will be rallying on a 4, because it's 4+ motivation now for the 7th Army. I get a 2, so I'll re-roll that. Nope, so they're still pinned. And then the platoon next to them, and then a re-roll. They're still pinned, so I'm not moving them. And then I have a dice for reserves. Nope. And then I'm going to see whether to put my ambush in or not. I'll probably put them here. So it'll be German turn 1 and my movement. In my movement, I've popped my ambush right by here. I've also moved the Grenadier platoon in this terrace building, and I pushed them back to here. I've also put my Stugs out of line of sight of the approaching Cromwells, so they're here. So we're now going to German shooting. German shooting, the Flak 88s managed to bail out a Cromwell, but then the Pack 40s killed the rest, and his 1 remained bailed out. My artillery used their ranged in marker to try and go for the M10s, but I failed to hit. But another Flak 88 managed to bail one of the M10s up ahead. So going into British motivation, Jen has 2 bailed out tanks. So if you look at the motivation for your M10, okay, so if you roll that, it gets back into his tank. Okay, yeah, so you get to remove that marker. Okay, and then you've got a motivation for your Cromwells, so they have the cautious but not stupid rule. So they remount on a 3+. So he's back in. So now, because there's only 1 unit left, he has to do a last stand. So the motivation for the British is reluctant on a 5+. So on a 5+, this tank drives away. So he stays 5. Awesome. So now we're going into British movement turn 2. This is British movement. Jen has decided to sacrifice this guy by moving him forward and to assault the guns. These guys will remain out of sight to see where my reserves come in. The M10s are moving up and trying to stay in cover from my Flak 88s. These Cromwells are positioned so they can start firing at my infantry in the building, and the paratroopers are in the woods moving up to the objectives with the HQ in motivation. So now we're going into British shooting. The charging Cromwell, with some support of the universal carriers, have pinned down these 3 Pack 40s, so there's chance for this assault. The M10s fire their MGs into this building here and have managed to kill an infantry team. The Cromwells also fired their main guns into the building, but were unsuccessful. The rearranged artillery managed to kill one of the HQ teams. So we're having an assault, and now I have only 3 shots rather than 6, so this Cromwell might actually make it, although there's a Pack 40 here. This is what happened in the assault. The Cromwell got hit twice as it came in, so the problem was it got double bailed but then survived, so it is just bailed at the back. And the reason it was double bailed straight away is because when you go into assault you hit side armour. So German motivation now, I have to motivate my Pack 40s, which are a 4, so they rally. My infantry in the building next to them fail, but my HQ's next to them they pass, and then the HQ unit fails and gets a reroll, and they fail again. And now I have 2 dice for reserves. I get 1 in, and then I have to dice to see where they come from. So it's 3, so they come from the back end. So that's quite good for me. So German movement now. This unit of Stugs have tactically moved over here to go for some side shots on this unit over here. The rest of the Stugs are probably going to try and finish off these universal carriers, and these guys might as well get rid of this last Sherman, so Sherman, I say Cromwell, so Jen doesn't have to roll for it. Everything else has remained still and ready for the infantry assault. So German shooting. German shooting, I missed with all my Stugs onto this unit here, so they'll suffer a bit next turn. I did manage to get rid of this Cromwell, managed to get 5 hits on it with 4 penetrating, so as you can see that blew up. The universal carriers, I had nothing else to shoot at with my flak 88s and my other Stugs, so I bailed 1 and killed the other 2. Meanwhile, the other flak 88 managed to kill the only M10 it could see. I tried ranging in my mortars onto this forest here, and I was unsuccessful all 3 attempts. So we're going into British turn 3, and Jen has a motivation to try and bail in this universal carrier. So if you look at the motivation for universal carrier, Jen.
I don't know, 5.
Okay, so roll that. So it's still bailed out. There's no other things to bail back in, so now you've got a last stand test to do with that universal carrier, so it's motivation again.
Fine.
Yeah. Nope, so that is blown up, and now we're going into British movement. British movement, the Firefly is the only one that hasn't moved, it's pivoted so it can fire. The other Cromwells are moved and they're still behind the crest of this hill, so they can't be seen, and this Cromwell is staying put, so it can't give away the rest of the unit, and also so it doesn't die. The paratroopers, as many of them have filled this house, the rest are behind, and the HQ unit is tactical moved around the woods to here. Everything else has remained stationary to lay down fire into this building, and these ones will still probably fire their artillery if they can because of the danger close rule. British shooting on their left flank, they failed to hit all the Stugs as well, so they're just really bad marksmen over here. The British didn't hit anything with their repeat bombardment. A lot of guys were killed in this building, 3 rifle teams, but luckily no MG42. And the paratroopers are also in a position for next turn to do an assault. Although they could assault this turn if it's within 4, we'll check. They are within 4 inches, and obviously they use their tactical move, so there's plenty of room for them to continue their assault, so they'll do that now. So basically the paratroopers moved in, they took a casualty from defensive fire from the units that were there and the formation commander over here. They killed everyone in the bottom floor. The assault battalion then rallied with the formation commander and moved in and killed another paratrooper. The paratroopers then killed everyone again on the bottom floor. The MG42 is in the top building, so couldn't move down when he successfully counterattacked. The paratrooper platoon then moved up into the building and killed him, so they won the assault, and at the moment the paratroopers occupy this building and the end of this terrace with what's left of their platoon after losing only 2 casualties. They are pinned, however, because they have taken a hit in assault, so this isn't good for me because they are on the objective. So Jen, if you grab a pin marker. Yeah. So we're going into my motivation. So I have no motivation to make for my guys, but I do have 3 dice for reserves. So I do get reserves, but where do they come on from? So again, they come from the end after rolling a 3. So German movement turn 3. With my movement, more Stugs have moved over here, since I don't think they'll be able to do anything about those paratroopers. I do have a full, well, an almost full platoon of infantry to deal with them, so they're going to try and take out these. My other Stugs have moved to try and deal with the building over here, more assault, and everything else is going to be shooting this turn. German shooting a bit better for the Stugs this time, considering I have 8 of them. Killed 3, bailed the last one. Fired everything into these guys here, but I've pinned them, but they're already pinned anyway because they took a hit in assault. This Flak 88 here did fire up the road and took out a Cromwell at long range. So I'm going to assault now, and I'm going to move into this building here. So my beach defenders valiantly moved across the road to engage the paratroopers, but I took in total 5 hits from the Brengan teams and the Piats, which killed 3 of them anyway, but also stopped my assault. So I'm pinned, and these paratroopers are still in a good position on the objective, but luckily my 8cm mortars are still here. But if my wife can push these off next turn, which she more likely will do, she wins the game. Okay, so now we're going into British turn 4. And Jen has a motivation to do with her paratroopers. First of all, you have a bailed out tank. On a 3+, I guess, back in. It's back in. So now you have a motivation on the paratroopers. They're fearless, so that will be a 3+. They are unpinned on a 5. And then there is a last stand test to do on this lone Cromwell over here on a 5. Yeah, again, Jen is not failing her last stand tests. So now we're going to British movement. British movement step. The paratroopers are moved behind the house so they get cover from the building so no one can shoot over. Because all they need to do is get rid of these 8cm mortars and they'll be alright. Because they're going through the woods, the Flak 88s won't be able to fire at them because they shouldn't be able to see them. But the Stugs should be able to fire, so that's why Jen has moved the Piats into this part of the building and has rotated this Cromwell over on the hill to help take them out. So we're going into British shooting. British shooting, the artillery have ranged in here and they've taken out one of the Pak 40s. No hits on the Stugs in the middle, so we'll get some cover shots on the paratroopers going in. Might be enough, might not be. And everything else has done their bit, so these 8cm mortars are in a bit of trouble if they don't get enough cover fire. So in the assault step, the paratroopers with their yellow flowery bases have moved in. The 8cm mortars have no direct fire, so can't fire, but the Stugs over here have 3 shots each in defensive fire, so I'm going to roll them. It's 4s normally, but they are in concealment from the woods, so it's going to be 5s. And I have 3 hits, so Jen has 3 saves to make with her paratroopers. So just roll 3 dice, and that's a 3 up for the infantry, and all 3 die. Well, all 3, I say there's 4 there, so basically we take these 3 away. But it's not enough to pin them, so basically this guy has enough movement to move into here, and then the 2 Piats are going to have to get involved as well. Put the rest of that building back here. So paratroopers are in. So this unit here, these 2 need 2 dice and they're hitting on 3s. So that is a kill. That's a 6 and a 2. And the 2 Piats, if you look at the end of their thing, it says assault and a number.
4.
Okay, so you're hitting on 4s instead of 3s because they're a smaller base. So 2 dice and you're hitting on 4s. And Jen gets a 6 and a 4, so it hits the one in base contact. So that's them. So I'm going to try and counterattack. So my motivation rating is a 5. Nope, it's a 4. And I get a 2, but it's a formation unit here. So I'm going to re-roll, and I get a 6. But I cannot move the 8cm mortars in because they're heavy weapons, so it's up to the paratroopers to see if they motivate the counterattack, which is going to be a 3 because they're fearless. 1 dice. On a 4, so these move up. So again, 2 dice requiring 3s on this side, and Jen gets a 3 and a 1, which is enough to kill, and then 2 needing 4s. And a 5 and a 3, which is enough to get them. So there's still units within 8 inches, which is the assault guns. So I get to counterattack with these guys on a 2, but I get a reroll on a 5. So that is enough for the Stugs. So I get 4 inches of movement. So that is just enough to get 1 in, but I'm going to have to do a cross check to get in. So it's a 4+, it's a 3, so it's not enough there. So he is stuck by here. So now it's up again to the British to counterattack on a 3+. 4, so the best thing to do is the 2 Piats move in, and then they're hitting on 4s onto the Stug. And that's 1-4, so it's anti-tank 10 on to my side armour of 3, but I do get my side armour to go up to 5 against weapons with 5/5+ or a 6. So my side armour is now 5, so I need a 5 to equal. I get a 2, so a 5+ will kill this tank. A 3, but he is bailed, so I get a bailed out marker for my Stug. And I try the counter-attack again, on a 2, reroll, on a 4. So I can move my guys, but I can't move them into combat, so I'm going to have to break off and move outside of 8 inches. So that lets Jen win the assault because this Stug will die. Jen will consolidate 4 inches onto the objective, and Jen will win the game. Well done, Jen. So yeah, at the end of that assault, this Stug had to back away to here because it is too close to the end of the table. So basically this Flak 88 had not enough room to get outside of 8, so died as well. These ones did just manage to get out, but it doesn't matter anyway because the British were in 4 at the start of their turn and ended within 4. So thanks to a bit of help from me, Jen has successfully won the game. Jen has lost 1, 2, 3 units. So I believe that makes it a 3+. So a major victory. No, sorry, a minor victory to the British. But so, well done, Jen. Nice to see the Cromwells in action. The paratroopers are really good. Liked seeing them in the combat. And nice to have a fearless unit assaulting. And obviously, they're not quite fearless veteran, but with that assault rating, they are. Overall quite like the British book. Really like how the motivation has dipped quite a bit for the British because of their war weariness. Do like a lot of the command cards. I'm still waiting for a lot more units to come out. I have still got quite a lot. I did rush paint a lot of these Cromwells and the paratroopers, so hopefully next game maybe be able to see a company of paratroopers but no support weapons for them yet. And then have to wait a bit more to get more rifle companies involved. So might try out the 3rd Infantry Division and maybe the Welsh Division as well. So I hope you enjoyed that game. Decided to do that last assault one-handed with the camera to show the assault, which is a bit tricky to get the hang of, especially with all these different guns. But basically the reason the Flak 88 I deemed them not to fire is because the density of the woods that the infantry were in, where they're a bit further back when the Flak 88, the 8cm mortars were there, so that's why their Flak 88s couldn't help. But they might not have hit them anyway. But no, the paratroopers were probably the star of the game. Maybe I shouldn't have used Beach Defence Grenadiers. Maybe regular Grenadiers would have been enough because their hit on rating is so poor. And again, used the cover of the house to stop these grenadiers, well, what's left of them, from firing onto them, because it was tall terrain in the way. But yeah, apart from the massacre of the desert rats, the paratroopers are done pretty well. So if you like more of these games, please subscribe. I'll probably get a lot more late war British games, and hopefully finish off my Lord of the Rings League game with Richard as well. So please subscribe.